Okay, this is some film that's digitized. Here's my Uncle Donald, and my dad shot most of this with Aunt Katie, my sister, Mom, and Grandma Kaiser there at Disneyland, 1961. There's a train, and Mr. Disney was really into his trains. He had a bunch of his own model trains, and he went to many different parks before he built this. And I think it was 1955 that he opened up. And he used to have a TV program called Disney's World of Color, and had a lot of his characters that he created in his movies that were in this park. So here we are on one of his rides, the Jungle Cruise with all the animated players. Here's some right here. Obviously, they're animatronics. Here's a snake that sends chills up your spine. But you can notice the water is quite thick and muddy to hide all the rails, because all this stuff is on rails and electronics. And for 1961, you got to admit this was very inventive, creative, and had a lot of good ideas. Here's a hippo, and here's a guy shooting at the hippo. You can see the little smoke burst there. He was in the boat shooting a little handgun with blanks in it. And here's some more animatronics, natives. Very detailed. And from the boat, you can see that this would be a thrill for somebody who's 9 years old, which I was at that time. And here's the Pirates of the Caribbean boat, which went on to make many movies and make Disney a lot of bread. Watch the anchor here get stuck on the gangplank, and that could have been pretty bad if it would rip that off. And Mike Fink's keelboat ride, which was in Davy Crockett's TV program. That boat was not on a rail. And throughout the park, they have these small bands, theme bands for the place where you are visiting. And coming up here is our entourage of me and Mom and Katie. There's Grandma and Uncle Donald. More of the three amigos there, finishing up. And we were waiting for our opportunity to get on this ship, so we're sitting there at the dock. You can see the Matterhorn in the background. And the keel boat again, and yeah, that's not on that's an actual motor on that boat. You can see the gun there. That little cannon was equipped with a small breech that would take shotgun blanks, and they would fire at the fort when they went by, and the fort would fire back. And more. Here's the mast. When I first digitized these films, there was very little color in there, so this software program that I used probably brought them back to life. And there's the fort, and they were firing back. And here's a unhappy camper who got attacked by these Indians here. More animatronics. The park was designed by a creative team handpicked by Walt Disney, and the construction started in 1954, and the park was unveiled during a special televised press event on ABC. Here's another group of straw hatters playing Dixieland. Here's a duck that's going to get eaten. No, I don't think so. I don't think that's a real gator there. I am going to go hide in the blockhouse. There's Grandma with her new hat. That was a plastic hat she bought there that later on she left in the car and it melted. Sleeping Beauty's castle, which was designed by this castle out in Germany. And they took a lot of the designs and then put it into this Sleeping Beauty castle. There's Mom, Katie, and Sue crossing that bridge. I'm trying to take a picture there in the corner. This was a ride that was taken out after a while. It was the flying saucers that was propelled by a big fan below. Here's a jester on a unicycle, and Dad was getting his picture, and my sister was mad that she couldn't meet this guy because she was on a ride with me, and I was castrated for that. These bucket rides, Skyway was later on torn down because it needed a lot of maintenance, and you can see the hole there that it went through the Matterhorn. Here's the chalet where you pick it up on one end in Fantasyland, and then I think it took you to Tomorrowland. This was a e-ticket ride. Back then you had to buy ticket booklets, and anything was what we call an e-ticket was one of their better rides. There's the Dumbo ride, and you can see the buckets passing by. Here's the Chicken of the Sea boat. This was sort of like the Pirates of the Caribbean, but wasn't as popular as that. Here's the Dixie Cup ride, or the Teacup ride from the Mad Hatter. And there's a carousel in the background. There's Monstro from the Pinocchio movie, and more of the Matterhorn. You can see the engineered holes they had through there, and that was another reason why they tore down the ride, because they had to really do a good job. They would have to redo the Matterhorn too, so they just tore down the ride. And here's another one of his Nautilus rides, the submarine ride from 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. This was a pretty neat ride, and it'd been nice if Dad would have taken some film of it when it was under the water. Here's their monorail, which was another unique design that he upgraded later on. Took you around the park, dropped you off at the certain Fantasyland or Tomorrowland or Adventureland. There's Sue and Grandma trying these cars out that they had going there, bumper cars with big bumpers on the bottom. There's me trying to give it a go. Here's Mom, and here's Sue driving Grandma. And this was a neat ride they had there. Now we're on the bobsled ride, which was unique because this lady spit on her head. No, it's because they had tubes for rails, and was a new design that other rides took to their designs later on. Instead of having rails, they had tubes. More music. Here's the Nautilus. They had about 5 or 6 of these submarines that went on a rail, on a track, went underwater a little bit, but mostly it was mermaids and more animatronics. Here's some cars they had on a lanyard that would go real fast, and I think we're winding up here at Disneyland, headed for San Juan Capistrano, and this was the mission that we went to, where the swallows would come back every year in March, and basically this was a big garden. Here's I'm trying to feed the residents there. And here's another resident. Lots of foliage, lots of flowers. sort of like a big garden, a lot of cactus. Here's the Mission Bells. They had a history there, and they would ring out. Not anymore. They're pretty poor shape, but they left the castings there. A lot of flowers. Very beautiful park. And there's the best side of my sister, catching things out there. Very well manicured park. There's Dad and Mom. So Uncle Donald must be taking these film. And had to slow everything down because of the transfer from film to video. I had to use some special software to smooth things out and creates a few shadows and jerks. There's Grandma Kaiser next to the bougainvilleas, I think those are. And Dad and Sue. Actually holding hands. Dad's going to wave here, and we're going to get a pan down where he's going to get a hug from my sister. Cactus. A lot of desert flora there. Sue, Grandma, Uncle Donald, Aunt Katie. More flowers, more cactus. A real nice tourist exposition. And here's one of the missions. You can go explore there, and I think we're going to see one of the jail cells they had there. And now a quick switch to Tijuana, Mexico, where they had us on these donkeys and put hats on us, and we were part of the Tijuana Exposition, 1961. Yeah, they would paint these donkeys with stripes that make them look like zebras. And here's a family. You can see the family members all getting involved with the band there. Tijuana was very strange. Even as a little kid, you kind of had a feeling that you were not in the United States anymore, and there was a sort of culture, sort of attitude, and you can see and buy things that you normally don't see when you're visiting in tourist spots in the United States. There's a lot of the shops there, strip mall. I wouldn't venture down there now in 2022, but here's us looking at some shops. There's some bongos there. There's Grandma, Uncle Donald. I don't know where Grandpa was at this time. I think he stayed home. And here we are with the last donkey heading out. And thanks for your attention.